Hello, and welcome to the Christchurch Fox Chapel podcast. Well, it's the fastest growing, conservative, evangelical, charismatic,
popularly demanded traditional theme tune
podcast. The entire Fox Chapel area. You're alluding to certain complaints that we've received this week, Ben.
Yeah, the complaints department has been busy, full with requests that we return to the Los Yetis. And mostly that we've stuffed them in a closet up here, and they just won't wanting to get out and get some air.
Well, they're out, they're back, everyone's happy. We did want to play the theme tune to the movie Back to the Future.
Yes, yeah, we did. And not just because we love Back to the Future, which of course we do on this podcast.
We do, yeah.
But because our passage today is kind of a back to the future.
It jumps out of time in some way.
Yeah, well, sometimes... you mentioned it was like a Tarantino movie.
Yes. I think Ezra 4 is like a Tarantino movie.
So what does Tarantino do that's like...
Well, so, I mean, often, say something like Pulp Fiction, you have these flash forwards and flashbacks. He does it in Kill Bill as well. There are certain movies that he does where it's not just chronological, day 1, 2, 3, 4, but he jumps around in time a little bit. And I think that's what's happening here. So in Ezra chapters 1, 2, 3, we read in a very simple chronological way. They leave Persia, they come back to the land, they celebrate the right festivals at the right time, they build the temple, opposition comes, and it's all taking place over the course of about maybe 1 year. And then suddenly, and we saw this last week, Ezra in chapter 4 starts mentioning a litany of different kings. Starts with Cyrus, mentions Darius, Ahasuerus or Ahasuerus, or however he might say that.
Also known as Xerxes.
Same guy, right?
Yeah.
And then Artaxerxes. And so Ezra is talking about things that happened in the reign of multiple different kings, maybe spanning as much as 100 years.
So it's almost like he's going on with the narrative, and then all of a sudden he just does this big zoom out on the story, because he's been talking about adversaries, or adversaries.
Yes.
Scholars disagree on the proper pronunciation, and opposition.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned last week, and I think this was brilliant language, that the opposition is sustained, as in like it's continuing. It continues over the course of years, and it's varied. It changes.
Yes.
And when you zoom out, like Ezra does here,
over 100 years,
you see the pattern. And he's going to jump back. He's going to zoom back in at the end of chapter 4. And we're going to kind of pick up the story where we left off.
Right. So it's like a bump out where he zooms out and he says, look, for 100 years, this kind of opposition was sustained and it was varied. And I guess the details of the opposition is contained in a series of letters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, basically, you said that it's been the sustained but varied opposition came in sort of it was escalating, right? First they were kind of buddy, like,
feels that way.
Let us partner with you and we'll take over your project.
Yeah.
And then it kind of became, they just discouraged them in various means. And then to outright threats.
And physical violence.
And
then bribery of local officials.
Yeah.
And then the kind of nuclear option, we're going to write to the ultimate emperor king.
So basically we're going to manipulate the bureaucracy.
Yes, at a kind of local government level and then at a empire level.
So this is lawfare.
It is. It's very clever political lobbying and lawfare to thwart this thing and get it shut down.
Hopefully everyone sees why this is totally irrelevant to everything happening in our time. I think it's interesting. I've struggled with figuring out what's going on. We spent a lot of time like just figuring out what on earth is going on, because at first you think there's one letter and then you realize there's two letters, and then you realize actually there are three different letters being mentioned here. So in verse 6...
Show us that. Yeah, go on.
In verse 6, in the reign of Ahasuerus, Xerxes, in the beginning of the reign, the opponents wrote an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem.
Okay.
Full stop. That's self-contained. And then verse 7, in the days of Artaxerxes.
Different king.
That's like 20, 30 years later.
Yeah.
You have Bishlam and Mithridath and Tabeel and the rest of their associates wrote to Artaxerxes, king of Persia.
Different people write to a different king.
Different people. So this is apparently the first attempt failed. The second attempt fails.
Okay.
And then verse 8, Rehum, this one succeeds. And you get more detail on it. Rehum the commander and Shimshai the scribe. Bonus points to anyone in the Christ Church breeding program who names their son or daughter Shimshai.
The scribe.
The scribe.
Like, it's not good enough just to call him Shimshai.
Yeah. And the rest of their associates. So who are these people? You have Rehum this is kind of generic name for that time. He's a commander. We don't really know. We don't hear about him in any other scriptures.
He sounds Jewish, but he's not.
No. We learn, well, let me just go through this. You have Rehum, he's a commander. He's some kind of local official.
Do you know the Aramaic word is for a chancellor?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
So what's a chancellor again?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Hitler was the Reich chancellor. Nigel Lawson was Margaret Thatcher's chancellor of the Exchequer. He was the money man.
Is he the one that you named your dog after?
No. That was the defense secretary.
Okay. I can never get my Thatcherite
Your cabinet.
bureaucratic cabinet.
I can name, this is a side point, but I can probably name pretty much all of Thatcher's like mid-1980s cabinet, even though I was like a 7-year-old boy.
Do they have like baseball cards for these guys?
No.
Just a bunch of
Nothing like that.
Bald
Cricket
fat
cards.
Guys with big glasses wearing ill-fitting suits.
The reason why their suits were ill-fitting was because there was a bomb just before a conference from the IRA, and they went down to Marks and Spencer, which is like JCPenney, and opened it up at 5 a.m. and all bought new suits.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then did the conference.
Oh, wow. So they got all ill-fitting suits?
They got, yeah. That's kind of chancellor. We have a chancellor in our diocese. She's a lawyer. So chancellors seem to be people that run things with money or law. Yeah.
He's some kind of... So Persia at this time it's the largest empire in world history to this point. Yeah. And it's a massive bureaucratic thing, because in order to manage something that big, they had satraps, which is almost like if you divided the United States into 4 sections or by its territory. The Midwest would be a satrap.
Okay.
The Southeast would be a satrap.
Right.
So it's like a whole collection of states. And then within those you have smaller areas, and each one, each local group would then raise taxes and push that money up.
I see.
And then it all filtered up to the emperor.
Judah was the province beyond the river.
Yeah, part of the province beyond the river. The river being the Euphrates River. They mentioned that at the end of this verse. But
okay, so they've kind of escalated, if you like, through the hierarchies of the administration.
Yeah,
and now we're at the king's level. So we're at the top of the tree.
And just to give you some perspective on this, Jerusalem is a tiny city. Yeah. It's in this whole thing, the Persian Empire is about the size of the continental US.
Right.
And so it's like Boise, Idaho, right? Like, or something small like Butler.
Bags of Wyoming.
Yeah. Bags of Wyoming.
Yeah. Population 320.
Yeah. I mean, they've got about 50, maybe 50,000 people in and around Jerusalem.
An Elk Lodge, probably.
An Elk Lodge. And the Persian Empire has tens of millions of people.
Right.
So, it's a drop in the bucket. And at this point in history, the people are rebuilding the walls. They're rebuilding the cities under Xerxes or Artaxerxes. So,
we jump forward. So I guess the chronological story stuff here would be kind of Nehemiah, a different book, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But so what's going on? This tiny city is like, it's vulnerable to bandits and raiders. So they're like, we should probably build up the walls. Mm-hmm. And then they don't technically have permission to do that. Okay. And so the local officials, they write in this letter to the king, to the top dog.
Who would ever want to be king? You get letters like this. Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
And so it's Rehum the commander or chancellor, Shimshai the scribe. The scribe would have been like some kind of administrative official, kind of like a lawyer.
Yeah.
He knows how to work the levers of power.
Yeah.
Right? He knows how to write accusations and put them in the right form, and and how to appeal to the royal records and everything to get the job done.
So he's the trial lawyer.
Yeah, this is lawfare going on here. They wrote a letter, verse 8, against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes, the king, as follows. Rehum the commander, Shimshai the scribe, and the rest of their associates, the judges, the governors, the officials, the Persians, the men of Erech, the Babylonians, the men of Susa, that is, the Elamites, and the rest of the nations whom the great and noble Osnappar deported and settled in the cities of Samaria and in the rest of the province beyond the river. So who are these people? They are, Osnappar was a Babylonian king who had lived a long time before. And when the Assyrians had taken, no, was he a Babylonian or Assyrian king?
I think he was Assyrian. He was also known as Ashurbanipal.
Oh, Ashurbanipal. Yeah, of course. Is anyone, do you think the listeners are confused yet?
I don't know, but if any of them calls their kid Ashurbanipal, then they've definitely earned a Mario coin.
Yeah, we'll give you a Mario coin.
That's very good, yeah.
And a Christchurch Fox Chapel Yeti if you name your kid Ashurbanipal.
Okay.
So this guy, this was a king many, many, many years ago.
Yeah.
That when Israel had been conquered and deported,
the northern tribe, northern tribes,
they shipped in all these other people from all across the known world. So it's almost like if what would I say? If all of Aspinwall, if all the citizens were shipped onto trains and deported to the middle of Kansas.
Okay.
And instead,
Canadians were brought in.
And they brought in all kinds of Canadians, not just Canadians, but what are the French-speaking Quebecians? Oh. Quebecian separatists.
Oh, yeah.
And they speak a different language.
Strong German accent.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And they
will settle here.
and they're living in the land. And then all of a sudden, like 100 years later, it's just been nothing but Quebec style French in Aspinwall for all these years. Right. And then now, some people come back from Kansas and they're like, this is our town. Like, we still have, I never forfeited my deed to this house.
We're going to rebuild the Presbyterian church and the tavern in the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so obviously there's all these mixed people who are living in the land.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, that's great, but I live here. Like,
right.
My dad lived here.
Yeah.
My grandfather lived here.
Many of these people will have been born there. So it's their home.
So who has a right over the land?
Well, that's a familiar topic.
I mean, so this is the first thing I think that's really interesting. You have a coalition of people who don't really agree on anything.
No.
But they're all aligned against this thing that God is doing.
Yes.
And they're not necessarily, like, can you really blame them? I don't know if I can. Right.
I mean, because they were sent there, quite possibly against their own will. They were resettled there by whatever king of the day was resettling them. In this case, Assyrians, right?
Yeah.
So the Assyrian exile which predates this period by more than 200 years, I think.
Yeah.
Saw the northern tribes in Israel get taken away, click and drag, like my pipe wrench, poof, they disappeared. Mm-hmm. And the king of the day, the king of Assyria, which was the empire of the time, resettles all these characters from all around his empire back into Israel, who were going to be loyal to him and all sorts of things. But we have no idea whether they wanted to go or not. I don't think people had anything like the freedom of movement and voting that we have today. So,
but now they live there.
Now they live there.
And
they were told what to do by the boss of the day, and that boss is long gone. They've been living there for 100 years.
And so they, of course, they want to ally against Jerusalem because it's this sudden regional growing power, and that's a threat to them. So
yeah, maybe that's the benefit of this stepping out of time thing, is you do get to see it, when they arrive on day one, it's crickets, thistles, and owls. There's literally nothing there. By this stage, they're actually thinking about building fortified walls. So we have seen the people of Judah rebuilding.
Yeah,
and reviving. So it would feel like their fears were justified.
I think that Ezra is such a useful and helpful book for talking about spiritual warfare because it's not clear and it's not overt. It's subtle.
Yeah.
The problem that's happening here is subtle. Like, it's not like a Disney movie where the bad guys are like really, really obviously bad. You know, it's not like the Wicked Witch was living in the land and she wanted to eat babies. Like, these people just live there, but somehow
they did eat babies, though.
They did eat babies or burn babies.
Yeah.
But
apart from that,
I mean, it's not necessarily true that all of them. Ezra isn't necessarily saying that all these different folks did, but their interests are aligned against the purposes of God in restoring his people.
Yes.
And so in a sense, they have a project together that is at enmity with God and God's purposes. And isn't this so much how spiritual warfare works? Like, you can't identify one single bad guy where, like, if you squashed or killed this person, then the whole problem would be fixed.
Yeah. I mean, it's like being shot at from the woods. You don't know who's shooting at you, where it's coming from. Often spiritual attack is very difficult to pin down.
Yeah.
And
it's a confusing situation.
It is confusing, yeah. And you can feel quite disoriented by where it's coming from and how it feels. And then you're wondering, am I going crazy?
Is this spiritual warfare? Am I over dignifying this situation? This just an unfortunate situation by calling it spiritual warfare? Am I catastrophizing?
Yeah.
You know, you get in your head about it, and that's part of the point. Like, there's an adversary who is behind these forces, and you have to read the narrative carefully to recognize that you have these different people, political actors on a political stage who have differing interests.
Yeah.
But behind them, that's where the real enemy is. And you have to, and Ezra gives us an insight into that, I think.
No, that's helpful. So this coterie of apparatchiks are now appealing to the ultimate authority as they see it.
Artaxerxes.
Ironically, they're working against the real ultimate authority as we see it.
Yeah.
But that's in the background. And there's this funny thing in verse 11 in brackets, where it says, this is a copy of the letter that they sent. So legit, right?
Yeah.
I guess the scribe here of Ezra got a copy of it.
Which, I've heard it was either Ezra himself or the chronicler, the same guy who wrote Chronicles.
Right.
Or some combination of the two.
Ancient Near Eastern letters were sometimes edited or codified at different periods by different people. Sometimes that could happen.
That's interesting.
Where a thing would be written down and copied, and maybe slightly amended by a copyist, or all sorts of things like that that took place. So, but I think many scholars have said there are linguistic continuances between, say, First and Second Chronicles, Ezra and Nehemiah, right? That it could be the same person.
So the Xerox machine had not been
invented the king's name
by this point.
Artaxerxes.
Artaxerxes. So this is the letter to Artaxerxes, the king, your servants, the men of the province beyond the river.
That's so slimy and obsequious, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like,
it gets worse.
Great king.
We send greetings.
I hate that. It's like, greetings. I hate that.
And now, it gets slimier. And now be it known to the king that the Jews who came up from you have gone to Jerusalem. They are rebuilding that rebellious and wicked city.
They want him to know that this is a city that is notorious for causing trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, they were like
We've all, and it's actually nowhere. Like, this is a very Jerusalem-centric letter because it's written by the Jews, but actually, the letter of Ezra, I mean.
Yeah.
But from the king's perspective, Jerusalem probably isn't a notoriously rebellious and wicked city. It's an absolute nowhere. It's bags of Wyoming.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny.
Here's the thing, though. If you looked into, technically, this is a half-truth.
Yes.
Because Jerusalem did rebel.
It did.
It has rebelled before against regional superpowers.
And they will appeal eventually, I think, to some record of this, right? They'll say, yeah.
So it's a half-truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they rebuilding it? Well,
what city wasn't rebellious and wicked is a great question to ask. Like, I mean, all of the cities are knocked down by someone and rebuilt by someone at this stage in history. Like, who hasn't rebelled against someone? But
this one is especially, I guess.
Yeah.
And they say they're rebuilding the rebellious and wicked city. They're finishing the walls and repairing its foundations.
There's a sense of, like, they're trying to create some sense of alarm or agitation or urgency here. You know, if we don't act soon, these walls will be completed. And once those walls are completed, there'll be nothing we can do.
If it be it known to the king that if this city is rebuilt and the walls finished, they will not, this is an overt lie now, they will not pay tribute, custom, or toll, and the royal revenue will be impaired.
That's really sneaky.
The economics. And they know what Cyrus, the only thing Artaxerxes really cares about is the money.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of wars, and the royal treasure chests have been depleted. Mm-hmm. And so they know at this particular point in history, Artaxerxes is hard up for cash.
Right.
And if his tax revenue doesn't come through, he's going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So they're appealing to his interests.
And his anxieties.
Yeah. And now, because we eat, this is the slimy thing, because we eat the salt of the palace, and it is not fitting for us to witness the king's dishonor. To eat the salt is like saying, our flavor in life comes from you.
Yeah, I mean, we still have that phrase still in English today. Anyone worth his salt would do this thing. That's still a phrase that we use in English. You know, I think during the Afghan insurrection, that Pashtun warriors would take salt when they signed up to fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like a kind of like an initiatory kind of act that they did.
If you're worth your salt.
Before they were given their Jezreel rifles.
We eat the salt of the palace. And we don't want to, you're going to be dishonored if they rebel. And so therefore we send to inform the king.
Which is great, isn't it? It's so clever. First of all, look, there won't be any money. Yeah. And then you'll be dishonored, and all we care about is your honor.
We're just here for you.
They're slightly judging the king, aren't they? They're by saying this, what they're saying is, we think you're a weakling that can be manipulated with threats of money.
You're not weak.
They're actually threatening the king.
Yeah, you're certainly not weak, are you? Because we don't want to see your dishonor.
Someone as honorable as you, it would be terrible if you should be dishonored.
Yeah,
they're manipulating the king.
And so
funny.
We send to inform you in order that search may be made of the book of records of your fathers. You will find in the book of records and learn that this city is a rebellious city. Well,
you see, now there's a bit of a pompous thing. We know something you don't know. Mm-hmm. And maybe appealing to the fathers is also quite a sort of a threat. If you're worried that you don't measure up to your dad, a great tactic would be to say, your dad kept better records. Your dad knew what was going on. Your dad would have done this. You don't want to disappoint your dad.
This is a problem that he dealt with and kept under control in his day.
Very clever.
I mean, yeah, men clearly, a man's not going to be worried about whether he measures up to the standard of his dad, right?
Yeah.
That is hurtful to kings and providences, and that sedition was stirred up in it from old. That was why the city was laid waste. We make, and this is where they really catastrophize, we make known to the king that if this city is rebuilt and its walls finished, then you will have no possession in the province beyond the river. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
It's been building and building and building.
This is like saying,
yes.
Listen,
disasterizing.
I know all of, there's a little city in Northern California that's been building some walls. And therefore, President Trump, if you don't deal with this, all of the United States west of the Rockies is going to be lost to you.
Yes.
What? What are you talking about? This is absolutely ridiculous.
But it's convincingly written to someone who's anxious.
It's brilliant.
Right? We'll start with the money, and then we'll go with the reputation, and then we'll disasterize and say, any minute now, there's urgency here. We have to act now, because any minute now, these walls will be closed up. Once the walls will be closed up, there's no way of getting over them, right? Yeah. There's no such thing as a ladder or a mound of earth. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't forget, of course, that this city, like most of them, had been invaded many, many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And no matter how weak he is, if he wanted, as a king, to go and smash Jerusalem, it would be child's play.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding the existence of Yahweh, it would be child's play.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And from a purely worldly perspective, it would be. So what's going on here? I think you have...
This is why this city was laid waste. It's a notorious hotbed of sedition.
Yeah.
And the wise kings that came before you dealt with it.
I think it's an appeal to authority that twists the truth.
There you go.
And it's a bureaucratic appeal.
There's the line.
That's twisting the truth.
There you go. Yeah.
That's made by a coalition of people, mm-hmm. none of which are absolutely evil.
Okay.
And what do we learn about spiritual warfare here? Well, you'll see there's some things I think that are red flags that we can kind of see examples of here that are testified to in the rest of Scripture.
Yeah.
One, the problem is not clearly any one of the people.
Okay. Right? There's not one bad guy you can get rid of and everything's fixed.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could say it's an unfortunate situation in which the interests of people are played against the will of God.
Yeah.
And isn't that so often the case? Like, we have so many situations, wars, political divides, that you're like, well, it's not like it's going to just go away if you just, because there's a lot of different things that are played off of each other in just such a way that it seems like an unsolvable problem.
Right.
That's a hint that you've got some kind of, that there's some kind of suprahuman intelligence or intelligences that are at work in this situation.
Right.
So I think it gives us some pause in thinking about when we look at politics and the complicated things, we're really quick and easy to villainize this particular people or that particular people, and we're often slow to pray. Mm-hmm. And maybe we should just identify that before we try to have the solution immediately, like recognize that there's spiritual warfare going on here and pray. So who are the bad guys? And there's this twisting of the truth.
Oh, lots of it.
There's a lot of as I read through it, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of twisting of the truth.
Right. And we've talked several times in this series about the fascinating typology of Scripture. So that the story begins in the garden with Adam and Eve in the garden, dwelling with God, walking with God. There's the language. And then the snake comes in and deceives. Uh-huh. The adversary, the snake, comes in, deceives, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
And we know that the temple was designed as a kind of type of the garden. Mm-hmm. As you pointed out a couple of weeks ago, decorated like a garden with symbolic fruit, oriented like a garden with a door symbolically on the east. And it does the same thing. It's the place where God dwells. It's a place where you can be present with him. Yeah. And it was designed like the garden to expand and advance. And we know that this is the case with the kingdom of God. And in particular, whether that's the kingdom as Jesus brings it or the kingdom as Jesus completes it when he returns, we know the kingdom of God, like the garden, like the temple, was designed to be where the presence of God was to be found and where outsiders could be drawn in. And so it's not surprising that something that is part of that story of the presence of God and the expanding grace of God would draw spiritual opposition of all things. Yeah. It's not a surprise that it would, because it always has. It did in the garden and it did on the cross.
Yeah. You see this in Jesus' life too, right? Like think of all the false charges that they make against him. Literally stapled to his cross is like the King of the Jews. And they're saying this man said, and then they're like, this man's, but don't say that. Pilate, say this man said he's the King of the Jews. Well, Jesus has said repeatedly, my kingdom is not of this world. So they're trying to paint him as seditious, even though he's actually not being seditious.
I mean, the Jews are saying, look, he's upending the law.
In the law, he spoke against the temple.
He spoke against the emperor.
Yeah, and it's all not true.
Same accusations are levied against, for example, the apostles. They're throwing up a commotion. They're upending. They're turning the world upside down. That often we see, don't we, that when the gospel is proclaimed, it incites opposition, and the opposition will slander and twist and try and alarm.
And it's often because the gospel can be a threat to people's economic interests. So it's like in Acts, when Paul's in Ephesus, Demetrius the silversmith he recognizes that Paul preaching against idolatry is going to cost him money because he makes idols. And so they start a riot because they're like, they got to get this, they have to counteract this or else business is going to hurt.
Yeah.
So
he obviously hadn't read the ornaments rubrics.
No.
Could have made a killing with chalices and patterns and
he could have
crosses.
I know, if only they had just had a good Anglican archbishop there to calm their
problem solved.
Yeah. Well, just make crucifixes.
It wasn't thinking.
But yeah, I know. Yeah, so there's that. And the breaking of truth. But I think there is something important. The forces are aligned against what has been a clearly expressed will of God by revelation.
Yes.
God has said through the prophet Jeremiah, 70 years, and I will restore you to this city. I will bring you back.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes people think they're under spiritual attack because something they're trying to do isn't working out. When in fact, well, maybe God never promised that. Maybe he never said like, I'm going to give you a new car. If the car buying is not working out, well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe like that's not necessarily a criteria for like this is a spiritual warfare thing. So there's a lot of discernment that has to happen, I think.
Yeah, that's right. How do we know if we're being we're suffering natural consequences?
Yeah.
How do we know if this is God trying to chasten us in some way? Mm-hmm. And how do we know if this is the enemy trying to discourage us in some way? Really hard to work those things out. Mm-hmm. We can say one or two certainties, right? Theologically speaking, God cannot be punishing us, right? Because we're in Christ and he was punished on our behalf. There's penal substitutionary atonement on the cross. And so we're not having a judgment punishment from God when things go wrong.
Yep.
But the consequences of our sin or the sins of other people could be falling on us, for sure. God might be giving us some sort of trial, perhaps. Mm-hmm. And the enemy might be attacking. And these things can all swirl around each other. When the enemy attacks, God's consistent MO is to redeem. Mm-hmm. Often the enemy overplays his hand. Mm-hmm. So when we suffer spiritual attack and we're starting to despair, that's frequently the moment where Christians turn to God or return to God and are emboldened and delivered and healed, and their faith grows.
Yeah.
Like how many conversations have you had with people where they've talked about their faith and they've given their testimony, and it turns out actually it was under oppression that they came alive.
Oh yeah.
Right. And that's
more often than not.
That's our kind of Amos, Joel stuff that we went through.
Yeah, you don't grow as easily when things are good.
So we'll get there. That this opposition is an overplayed hand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That God actually is sovereign. He's faithful to his own. He's sovereign over his enemies, and revival's on the way. We're going to get there. Those little points that we made at the beginning in chapters 1, 2, and 3, they're not nullified now.
Yeah.
This opposition still sits in the context of God's faithfulness to his own people and his sovereignty over his enemies and his plan to revive you.
Yeah, and I think it's just worth noting, put this letter in its context, it sort of succeeded for a while.
For a while.
And then it failed.
There you go.
And so the enemy doesn't have the final word.
No.
And and that's why, Paul calls us more than conquerors, super conquerors in Romans.
Yeah.
Therefore, we're more than we're super conquerors through him who loved us. He who did not spare his own son, but graciously gave him up for us all, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? So, that's what I take so far.
They approve.
It's nice to see them again. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. Well, this has been a podcast of Christchurch Fox Chapel. So glad that you could join us. As the Los Yetis like to say, thanks for stopping by.
Stay classy.
But mostly,
stay classy.
thanks for stopping by.
Classy.